Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Inside the Sandbox. We are going to do Bulldozer Training 201 on this episode. If you haven't seen, we launched 101, the first Bulldozer training video, a few months ago. We've had such great response on that one, so we wanted to go one layer deeper. If this is the first video you've seen, go back to that episode. It kind of goes over the basic controls. But today we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to be covering some slot dozing, blade positioning, and then grading. So tune into this episode. First thing I want to tell you is, again, we're not experts. We're going to show you what we've learned out here, but we'd love for you guys to keep commenting below on tips and tricks you may have. Second piece is we've already done our pre-inspection on the machine. We've also got a lot of site controls out here. So I'll have Trong out here doing some video, but he's in a vest. We know where he's at. So please be careful if you try any of this stuff. But ultimately, I want to make sure you guys learn from what we're doing out here. So let's check this out. Okay, so first thing, obviously put seatbelt on. Again, if you haven't seen the first version of this video, please make sure you tune in. I'm not going to go over all the basic controls. We're going to go a little bit quicker on this one into some more of the details. We are running a Komatsu D61 dozer. You're going to find a lot of the tips and tricks are going to apply no matter what machine. So we'll go right into it here. So I'm going to get started here. Throttle it up, lock levers. Now, as I start driving over to my trench here, the first thing I like to tell people for bulldozing and being an operator, there is no magic pill. There is no school that's going to teach you this overnight. It's the best way is practice. So that's really the best way you're going to learn is getting reps, getting in the machine, trying it out on your own. And over time, you'll get better at this, but it's one of the most difficult machines to probably master. So first piece here, we're going to go over slot dozing. So slot dozing is really a concept where if you need to move a lot of material, so we're no longer doing a little a finished grade or anything like that. The bulldozer has a lot of power. Unfortunately, that blade itself can only carry so much. So on a slot dozer, you're really trying to build a deep slot. So these are short, longer pushes. Now we went ahead and I pre-created a slot to show you the effect. But really all you're trying to do is have a slot where all the material stays in there and is pushing in front of the blade. The machine themselves can push about 30% more than what they normally would, because normally you're losing that as spill over the side. So I'm going to show you, I've already done probably, 30 or 40 feet here. But essentially slot dozing is just going deep quickly. So it's within the first bulldozer length or so you're trying to load that blade. So I'm going to go deep right here. Trying to get the blade loaded. I'm going to go over the edge here and really try and fill that blade all the way. And then after I do that, then I'm just carrying it the distance. So you'll see up in front here, there is a lot of material right now, and it has nowhere to go. So it's not able to go off the sides because I'm in a slot here. Normally the blade would never build up this much because it would just be spilling over the sides. So again, this is really handy when you are trying to move a lot of material. They use this a lot in mining operations where they're running much larger dozers and they need to carry it a long distance. They're going to do even more slot dozing out there. But I think it does apply for anyone running a dozer when they have to move a lot of material, because if you just try and skim over the top, you can only move so much. Now you'll see I'm staying in my slot here. Go down over the back edge here. And when you're backing up, I got a backup camera here. It is good to make sure you're looking over your shoulders. And then all I do is back up out of it one more length. So I'm getting another one. So I'm going to go down here again. Now again, you can get a little bit more aggressive when you're doing this slot dozing as far as speed. Generally, I would say for grading, speed is your enemy. But for this, it's just about as much raw power as you can get. Now you'll see all that material is staying. I'm pushing it all the way to the end of the slot. And you can go a little bit faster, and then eventually at the end. Again, these are still relatively short slots I have here. But again, for if you're doing a large, where you're moving a lot of material off a site, this is something that's a lot more effective. So We'll back up. Now, the key here then, once I do, this may be, I don't know, 50, 100 feet eventually as we're going, then you're just gonna back out, and then all we do is do another slot. So, you're gonna try and keep a little bit of a wall in between it. So that's where we come forward over here. And I'll come up. You always start up, these are short pushes. So I'm just going over, I don't know, 4 or so feet. So now I'm over 4 or so feet. Now I'm just gonna start another slot here. And again, it's just going pretty aggressive here in the beginning. Again, you're just trying to push a dozer or so length. And I'm really just, the goal is getting that blade as full as possible, as quickly as possible. So for this, I'm just going a dozer or so length, up, backing it up. And again, I'll back right out of this. Key is being careful coming down off right there, you get. And then we do another one. Again, this one I'm still trying to create my slot. But you'll see you start on the front end of this. This is, instead of backing up the entire length of your sight, you know, you're carrying it a shorter distance, because if you go too far without a slot, you're just going to lose material off the side. So again, this is really only when you're trying to move a lot of material. So as you can see, the dirt's really filling up in front, but it is not spilling over the edges. So I'm able to carry that a much longer distance. Now eventually what would happen here, I'd end up with the 2 slots. And then eventually you would just combine. You would end up doing a little bit of a windrow where you'd angle the blade, pull it in to one side or the other. And you could have multiple of these slots. But the beauty is you could be a much farther distance back. So you could be as far back as you want, but you're gonna be able to load that blade and carry it. You're gonna be able to carry a lot more material than you would if you were just doing it on the sort of skimming levels off, because you're gonna spill material out the top corners of the blade. So that's why it's really cool when you have that slot. So that's slot dozing. Now we're gonna back out of this thing. I wanna get out of the machine for a second. I wanna show you something that's gonna seem really, really basic and simple just with blade positioning, but I think all new operators, it's good to see. So let me back out of here and we'll go over and check out the blade positioning on this bulldozer. So now I got out of the machine and I want to show something that is extremely basic, blade positioning. I do this with new operators that come out to our site, and I think it's something that a lot of you, especially dozer operators, are going to look at me and think this is the dumbest thing ever. But it is really tough for people to connect that there's really only 4 feet of this machine that matters. And that's the road you're building in front of your tracks. It's all the blade angle. So a lot of times I just grab a big old pipe, whatever you have, and I can show them the relation of the blade as it is to the tracks. Because as much as it seems common sense, I can't tell you the number of times that people just don't get it. So when I look at this machine I was just running, you can see, I mean, really this is fixed. So the dozer tracks are not going anywhere. That machine, that's what you're driving over. The blade is cutting your roadway. That's the angle. So really, the distance from here to that track, that's what you're making. That is your roadway. So, like in this example, if I put that right at the bottom, and I put this right below your blade, you can see generally this one is a little bit of a downward slope. Again, the machine is actually, you can see, at an angle here. So this I can show someone that we're at a downward slope, and that means if we carry that, if we keep driving like that, it's gonna keep going down. So that's the angle that you're gonna hold it. That's really the only 4 feet that matters on this machine, okay? So on the other side, let's go show on the other machine I have up here. Again, both these machines I put up on a little bit of a hill, so this isn't completely normal, but it still illustrates the point. This machine, if I go from there, is actually going on an upward slope. So if we hold that blade and do nothing else and you have material in front of your blade, you will be creating a ramp going up, and it'll continue to go up as long as you have material in front of your blade. Again, seems really, really, really basic, and it is, but I also think new operators sometimes have a disconnect about all the other factors that go into it, when the reality is the distance from here to the bottom of your blade, that's all that matters. That is your road. So whatever angles you have there, that's what you're going to be driving over, okay? So now, let's get back into the machine, and now we're going to talk about grading. Finish grading, rough grading. I'll show you the different tips and tricks that I've learned. So let's check that out. So we're going to get back into grading. Really, that's probably the most important piece here. We're going to go over both rough cut and finish grade, really more finish grade. I've got my piles out here that I did the slot dozing from, so we'll push some of those in. Rough cut is really the more easy one because you don't need any precision. It's really just pushing the dirt. You don't have any accuracy. Finish grade is where it really falls. It shows the real operator. So first thing, practice. Practice is key out here. That is the only way you're going to get good at this, is practice, practice, practice on it, okay? Now, a couple things. Seat position, I think, is important. You need to be able to tell. You see some new operators slouching the machine. If you're not level yourself in the machine and upright, it's really tough to see what level is. The other piece of that is really level is you got to be looking out in the horizon too. Don't just focus on your blades. You want to see more than just that. You want to see the bigger picture on where your machine is so you can make little adjustments. So I'm going to come forward here. I'm going to try and just push in some of my first slot here. Again, this one's not as critical. I'm just trying to push the material in. But I want to get this one filled, and then we'll talk a little bit about finish cut. Now, the biggest thing when we start talking about finish grade, you got to have material in front of that blade. You get some operators that'll go out there, new operators are trying just cutting across the top of it. It is really, really difficult. And what happens is you get the roller coaster or the washboard effect where you're going up and down like that. So that's why it's really important to carry material in front of your blade so it can fill in any of those holes. The other piece that's important is really about when you carry that material, you want to be going at a slower pace. So right now, again, I'm still going kind of fast because I would call this a rough cut where I'm just trying to fill in this trench. But once you get to the end there, I see all too many operators that are going as fast as they possibly can. Way faster than they probably should because they think they're impressing someone. Problem is when you do that, your brain just can't catch up to the machine. So that's why slowing it down is often the better strategy here. That's pretty close. So now what I'm going to do is back up here and do a little bit more of a finish. Now again, some of the keys there, having material in front of your blade. So you want to cut in, 6 to 12 inches here. I'm slowing this down, but I'm cutting in. You're going to see a little bit of material coming off the corners, but this is where you're trying to then just carry that. And then as you're going there, if you're getting it, you can go a little bit faster. But I'm also, again, I can feel my machine. I can also see the horizon there, and I'm making little adjustments there. But this is where, again, most new operators, if they're going too fast, you'll get that washboard effect. You'll get the machine going up and down. And right there, if you don't carry it all the way, so mine ended up, I lost that right there, I'll back up and get another push there. Again, you're just trying to shave a little bit off. Little adjustments, but feeling your machine, always carrying some material in front of that blade. Now I'm going to show you some little tricks that I've learned too. When you start getting that washboard, that roller coaster, it's really tough to correct that. But you see I'm carrying enough material now where I'm able to fill in any of those holes in front of me. So that's helping me. Again, I still got my end of my slot here, so I'm going to end up going into this a little bit. You try and carry it forward, but it won't. Now I'm going to back up. Again, that one was a much better one. Just shaving off a little bit. So the other piece, once I get out of this, you're just doing a little bit of overlap on the two, okay? So that's really, so you have a grade that you're carrying on one. The other thing that I think really learned, instead of having a straight blade, if you put a little bit of angle at it, 6 to 12 inches, one way or the other, that's making it so your tracks won't do as much of that washboard effect because they're also spreading that out to have different, they're going to equal themselves out over there. So I'm going to come forward here and I'm going to do a pass again. I kind of call it like mowing the lawn where you do a little bit of overlap. But I'm using that one side. I'm still trying to load my blade. And I'm getting started here. So getting some material, watching my corners, but also looking out in the horizon, you know where you're going. I mean, kind of project where you're going to be taking this machine. We still got a little bit left on that slot I created, but I carried through a lot of that. There we go. Now, let's back up. We'll do one more. Big thing here is don't get frustrated. As a new operator, it's going to take you time to get better at this. So now starting again here, lowering that speed, cutting in so you have material in front of that blade. Again, I'm not going too far right. I got the barrels or obstacles over here, but I've also got a little bit of angle to my blade. And again, feeling my machine cutting into that. Now at the end here, final piece I want to go over. First of all, don't get frustrated. Even today, I'm going through this and it's not the best. Again, I started with a rough cut. The slots made it really, I had a lot of material to move, so I was trying to put this abbreviated. But even, an operator, I've got thousands of hours in a dozer. I'm not an expert by any means. So practice. If you get frustrated, get out of the machine. Sometimes just looking at it at a bigger picture and seeing the slope and everything like that might be able to get you some adjustments. The final piece I just want to show is back dragging. For some reason, this may be taboo. I've seen plenty. I've seen some operators support it, some don't. But it's basically using the blade to even out some of that. So I think it's a great way to smooth out some of the ruts you may have. So if I'm in back for a Komatsu dozer here, all it takes is me just putting this blade in the ground and pushing forward, and I got a float cymbal. And basically I disengage the hydraulics. I normally try and overlap it then. So I'm still looking behind me. And again, this is where I'm looking out in the distance on what my machine is doing. And this you can do relatively fast. You're not as much pushing, you're gonna cut in. So it helps smooth out some of that and it gives you a nice finish. Nice and flat. And then take it out. Key there at the end, don't just pull it all the way back. You're gonna leave a big pile of dirt there. So the final thing I'd show you, and really is sometimes attacking it at different angles. So if for some reason you're having trouble going in those rows, sometimes hitting it at a diagonal, that might help get rid of that washboard effect and everything like that. And don't, push through some of this here. I've got such a confined area here, I don't have enough to do a complete diagonal, but you'll see I can sit there and cut into my other previous trench. And again, slowing it down even right there, I'm going too fast. But if I cut diagonally to my existing, sometimes I'll get better results. I can get rid of some of that up and down washboard effect. This one I'll be going into my other trench. Push that in, perfect. So that's just a little bit of tips for grading. I'm gonna pull this out and we'll wrap up. So everyone, that was our second dozer training video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, not claiming to be experts, but would love to hear your tips and tricks for anyone else that's trying to get started. So please comment below. Let us know how you became an expert in grading or what little things you learned. And also let us know what other videos you want to see, what other kind of training, so we can absolutely show you. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next video.